Do you have any difficult people in your life? Do you have any people who just can't seem to manage their own emotions or their own behavior, and so they make everyone around them suffer for it? Oh, wow. Let's talk about them today. Remember the comedian John Cleese's comment? Remember, he's the guy from Monty Python fame. He said, if someone can't control their own emotions, they are left to demand that you control your behaviors so they don't have all those feelings. He kind of went on to say, I sympathize with them for being so emotionally fragile, but I don't think they should be allowed to set the bar for the rest of us. Ugh. Difficult people at work are like that. They expect us to change our behavior because they can't manage the hard stuff of life. So let's get real. If they are difficult at work, they're probably also difficult at home. Well, let's talk about how to deal with difficult people without becoming a difficult person yourself. Sun Tzu, the one who wrote The Art of War, has some really good perspective. Now, in this quote, he used the word enemy, but I'm going to replace it with the words difficult person rather than enemy because of obvious reasons. We're not at war with difficult people most of the time. Now, here's what he said. If you know the difficult person and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 confrontations or battles. If you know yourself, but not the difficult person, for every victory gained, you'll also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the difficult person nor yourself, you will succumb to every battle. So that's not just fancy words, it's wisdom for the ages. So let's get to know them, and along the way, maybe you'll learn a little bit about yourself too. So first, let's check our assumptions about difficult people. I always like to start there. In fact, I like to start there with any problem or any challenge, even with every success. Check assumptions. Our assumptions are like the check engine light on the dashboard of our life. Whenever our assumptions, what we also call mental models or mental maps, collide with reality, we should notice that. Reality, or the truth, is what we run into when we're wrong. Reality can be the unmoving, unbending coffee table leg in a dark living room when you had to head to the kitchen at night for a drink of water. Your mental map is, I have a clear pathway, and then bam, reality hits and your toe is bruised. Been there, right? Okay, so like I said, let's check our assumptions about difficult people. First one. There are two categories of difficult people. Ones I call situationally difficult, and ones I call the pros. A situationally difficult person is difficult because of the situation that they're in. There are a lot of situations that cause inexperienced or immature people to behave in a difficult way. Been there, done that. But you take them out of the situation, and they are not going to be difficult. They probably may even come back and apologize for their behavior. There's a lot of situationally difficult people, but there are not a lot of professionally difficult people. These pros is what I like to call them. They're the ones that I'm really going to talk about for the next few minutes with you. Here's an idea. If you encounter a professionally difficult person, like in the morning, you've probably encountered a professionally difficult person. But if you encounter these professionally difficult people all day long, every day, you might be the difficult person. To put it more kindly, if you're the one who is always acting like an ass, it's probably you. If everyone on the road is a bad driver, you're probably the bad driver. Just saying, with all due respect, bless your heart. All right, here's another assumption. They, that is the pros, are better at being difficult than you are at dealing with them because they've had a lot of practice. They have a threat-reward brain just like you and I do. It's just very often that what they consider as a threat, you consider as a reward, or the reverse. Here's another assumption. We do what we do because it works. or because at least we think it works. So this assumption applies to all of us all the time. Our brain likes autopilot, so it's worked before, and if it worked before, it'll quickly become a habit. So when we do what we do so because it works, and it has worked for a long time. So we don't just stop if it doesn't work. We double down. It's always worked before, and now it's not working. I think I'll just do it faster or harder or stronger. So here's a crucial assumption. Here's another one. This one's crucial. The pros that we're talking about have learned their difficult behavior very early in life. They probably learned it at 6 or 7 years old. And they learned this behavior whenever they felt threatened, and it worked. No more threat. In fact, it probably worked so well that now they practice this behavior because not only does it remove the threat, but it's rewarding to do so. It feels good to do it. When it doesn't seem to work, they're going to just do it more. They double down. It's always worked before. Maybe I just didn't do it loud enough. I wasn't mean enough, or personal enough, or cruel enough, or manipulative enough, whatever. I'm just going to dial it up because it's always worked before. Here's another assumption. Difficult people don't play the truth game. They play the power game. The truth game is all about facts, curiosity, growth, improvement, reality. The power game is about I am right and have to be seen as right. I am in charge, not you. I win, you lose. Anything goes in order for me to be right and to get my way. That's the power game. So lean in here with me. This one is a hard assumption to grapple with, but there is no amount of truth, facts, reality, that can persuade someone who's playing the power game. So if they're all about power, then where does that power come from? Difficult people get their power from our reaction to them. If we change our reaction to difficult people, their power evaporates. This is a critical and crucial assumption. They get their power from our reaction to them. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying you're to blame because of your reaction to them, but it is your reaction to them that is exactly what they want and what they need in order to remain in power. So, know yourself and know the difficult person. We could stop right here. It's a lot to think about, but I want to get practical with you before the end of this video. Here's some tips. 1, slow down. You're not in a hurry to change this dynamic. It's probably been going on like this for quite a while, so it's not a fire drill. Don't react quickly and play the power game with them. So slow down. 2, study yourself. How do you react to them when they are acting out as a difficult person? Study how you react when there is even a possibility that they may act out like that again. Write it down. Take notes about it. Pay attention to it. I like to call this noticing what you're drawn to do. So remember, we're feeling beings that think, and that means our limbic system is much faster than our conscious mental verbal formation of thoughts. So notice what you feel when they start to act out, or when the thought of them starting to act out occurs, and write it down. There's a third idea. Stop. Stop it. Don't do that thing that you're drawn to do. I know it sounds simple, but if you're ready for it, you can decide in advance that you're not going to do that behavior that you're often drawn into doing. I like to call this getting clinical. What I mean by that is illustrated like with a parent and a screaming child in a mall. If that parent knows that when I take this child out in the mall, that this little boy or this little girl may start screaming and hollering, and I don't want them to do that, I'm going to expect it, and I'm not going to react the way I've always reacted. I'm going to react this way and not that way. And they prepare for it, and they're ready. They get clinical. They don't let the emotional outbursts of that child change their inner emotions. They get clinical. Or maybe you're a supervisor with a blamer in place and they're always going to blame other people. If you're ready for it, you won't be drawn into that. Or maybe you are working with somebody who's a drama queen, and by the way, that is not gender specific. There's a lot of men who are drama queens and a lot of women who are drama queens, all right? So if you're prepared for it and you can get clinical when they start to do that behavior, you're not going to be drawn into it. But you got to pay attention to what you're drawn to do. So a little bit of a sidebar here, by the way. Don't let your behavior become an excuse for the difficult person's behavior. They flip out, so you flip out. Then you flipping out is an excuse for them. So never let that happen. Here's the fourth idea. Stand your ground without letting that behavior and the emotions that difficult person creates get in. It's almost like a Starbucks barista told me once. They had a black apron. They were a coffee master or a coffee guru. I don't know what they were called. And I asked them about the apron. They were telling me when that program first started all about it. I said, well, that's interesting. What's it like to wear that apron? And they told me a side story that some Starbucks baristas are trained that when they put on that apron and they have a really difficult customer, they're trained to think of the apron as like a shield between them and that difficult customer. And whatever that rude person is saying just bounces off of them. It's almost like a superpower that they've got when they put that on. That's a mental game, of course, but that's the thing I'm asking you to do. It enables you to keep those emotional, manipulative arrows that come your way from getting in. You get clinical. All right, here's the fifth idea. You ready for the hardest step? Don't talk about what the difficult person does. When you don't react to them, and their difficult performance, their difficult behavior continues, steps up, and then goes away, don't talk about it with other people. Just stand your ground and move on. Don't create drama after that difficult person's behavior leaves the room around what they did. It's demeaning to you, and it's demeaning to the difficult person, and it's demeaning to all those who listen. A couple of quick examples before we leave. Here's an example of a difficult person. I like to call this person the tank. This person learned at 5, 6, 7 years old that when they were threatened that they needed to get hostile and aggressive. And so they do that in any situation in the workplace. Whenever they feel threatened, they get hostile and aggressive. They aim at you like a tank would, and they attack you, and they're very personal. What you're drawn to do in that kind of situation is to defend yourself. Well, don't. Just stand up and say, stop. And don't say anything else. Use their first name if you need to. Tom, stop. Just say that. Well, what they will do is take another shot at you, and then you'll say, Tom, stop. Don't get dramatic. Don't throw a book at them. Just say that. Their frustration, their anger will go to someone else. They'll steam. They'll walk out of the room, and they will never, never, never tank you again. Another example is what I call the sniper. This is a person who likes to snipe at you when you're not paying attention. Maybe it's behind your back. They will say something in a triangulation thing behind your back, and they'll attack you. Or when you look the other way in a meeting or a workplace and you're not really paying attention, they'll say something snipey about you. What you're drawn to do is to ignore it or to use humor. Instead, call it out. Turn to the person and say, hey, I heard you said this. What'd you say? Call it out just like you would do with a normal sniper. Get them out from under cover. Don't react emotionally, just be very clinical about it. There's another example, what I like to call the manipulator. This is a person who likes to use their emotions to get their way. And what you're drawn into is to do something solely to assuage their current emotional state. If you study yourself, you notice, oh, that's what I've been doing. Well, don't do it. There are a bunch of other examples. There's like the complainer. They complain, you want to get in and rescue them. It doesn't work. Notice what you're drawn to do, just don't do it. There's the gossip or the triangulator. What you're drawn to do is to try to help, but instead say, you need to go back to that person and communicate directly about the person you're talking about. Maybe there's the exploder. That's my last straw, and they're about ready to lose their mind. And they never really explode, but they threaten it. What you're drawn to do is come in and rescue them. Don't rescue them. Just say, what would that look like? For example. All of these are illustrations about, notice that the difficult person uses their behavior to get you to do something. Notice what you feel like you need to do, and don't do that. Don't do something that makes it worse, just don't do that. And they will step it up. The difficult person gets their power from your reaction to their behavior. Change your reaction, their power will dissipate. Not quickly, but slowly. Remember, when you don't react the way they want you to react, and you don't behave in a way that gives them an excuse to continue their behavior, they will double down. But be patient. You knew this would happen. Stand your ground. Get clinical. They will stop that behavior with you. They'll do it with somebody else, but not with you. Fun stuff, huh? You got this. You have important work to do, and we need you to avoid the distractions that come your way when difficult people hijack your leadership by their behavior. So you got this. You can do this. Time to get back to work.